Hello, my name is Louis McIntosh, and today I'm going to present to you my pitch for my 1 minute film idea, and I will also be demonstrating a PowerPoint of what exactly I want to do for this project. Okay. Can you all see the slide clearly?
Yeah.
Yes, Ken.
Okay, so basically the type of movie that I would like to do for my 1 minute film is basically kind of like a horror kind of stalkery kind of film, because that's kind of like would be easy for me to do, like since I'm going to be working on this at home, and horror is one of the most well-known kind of genres in the film industry, so it's kind of so quite a few people might be interested in viewing this thing and see how I take my own approach to it. And basically, I will be playing the main character, who's a young man who's working on the side time, and all of a sudden he gets stalked by this like hooded figure, who thankfully I managed to get my dad to actually get a chance to play him. And I will be using like this like picture, as you can see here, but obviously I do have a hoodie example that I could possibly get him to wear, or I can lend him one of my own hoodies for him to wear for the in the actual video. Now the main basically the target audience that I would like to aim for in this project is basically I want to aim it mostly for young teenagers between the ages of 19 between 13 to 19 years old, because there's not going to be many gory scenes in it or any swear language in it, so it's kind of appropriate for them to do appropriate. So there's not any like too young people to actually watch something that they might find is too scary. But and I'll also be include one who aim it for young to middle-aged adults between the ages of 20 to 35, because since I've done some research about this genre to begin with, I know that quite a lot of young adults really like watching horror movies, and since the young adults like watching the horror movies, it means like between the ages of like from 25 years old. I know I hope that since the ages people between the ages of 20 to 35 will hopefully be interested in my own 1 minute film. Okay. So what is this story about? Well, the story is about a hooded figure who stalks this boy for some reason. And as you can see here in this picture on the right hand corner, that is an actual view shot of the house, and it's supposed to be from the hooded figure's perspective. And basically, the boy is just working on his project for college, and unfortunately, he's on his laptop. But then all of a sudden, the laptop cuts up, and then he notices the hooded figure, and he really starts to get worried. He ends up he ends up trying to hide from the hooded figure upstairs in the bathroom, and all of a sudden, when he tries to call the police, unfortunately, the phone doesn't receive it, anything, and all of a sudden, the lights start to flicker, and the boy really starts to get really worried, and then all of a sudden, the hooded figure pops up. Oh, sorry. And then all of a sudden, the hooded figure pops up, and then it cuts to black before we can see what actually happens. So, and of course, some of the shots that I would like to include in this, some of the shots that I would actually like to include in my film are close-ups, just to show the boy's emotions of how he's feeling. A long shot to show like him running away from all the way upstairs, and then another shoulder shot just to show how hardworking he is, just to show that I can establish like what he's a hardworking kind of person before the hooded figure pops up. And I also like to include a mid shot just to show, and I also like to include a mid shot to show that as well, because that way it shows like how he looks how he looks casually. So where am I going to be basically going to be filming this? Well, Even though I'm gonna be filming a lot of footage for this movie, I basically want to film this in my house because that way it's much easier for me to do, like in a location, because I have like one specific area to work on, so that way I don't have to worry about going too very far. But I will be filming in different areas. For instance, I'm going to be filming a couple of shots in the garden, like an establishing shot to show where this film is going to be taking place, and maybe even a point of view shot of the stalker, maybe just to show like he's about to come and take the young person. But then I'm also going to be filming the sitting room, which is one of the main locations I'm going to be having the young man be in, so that way it shows the person before, like I said before, shows what he's like before the hooded figure pops up. And then also I'm going to be filming it in the kitchen for one of the running parts of it. So that way I can leave from running all the way upstairs and then do a similar shot like somewhere in one of the bedrooms. And most importantly, I'm going to be filming this in the bathroom, which is where the last few shots of the film is going to be taking place in. But most importantly, I will make sure that I follow the 100-degree rule, which is basically making sure that all the shots that I film is within like a certain line, so that way I know it. So that way it doesn't go over the line. So that way it looks back to back and it stays together. So to say it better, but I will be adding some additional shots to help Ben to create new 100 different degree rules, so that way it looks like there's not any, like continuity errors or something like that. But most importantly, I do have my own camera equipment. Like I have a Canon CFX, sorry if I mispronounced that, CFX camera, so that way it helped me film all the footage I used. And thankfully I got 2 working CF cards to help me record all my footage. And I also have a tripod to help me position all the footage, so that way if I had to do this by myself, I could position the camera beforehand and then finally be able to record it as I'm about to film that shot, and then I'll just stop it and then check the footage again just to see how it looks. So why exactly do I want to make this film? Well, for starters, horror is, like I said before, horror is a very popular kind of genre in the film industry, so quite a few people will hopefully be interested in watching this film if they really, because even though quite a lot of people find horror movies scary, it's also quite exciting for them because they like the thrill of being scared and feeling really scared, feeling something with these characters, which is something I'm going to be creating for this film. So it's definitely a good idea for me to actually work on this project. And also, I do have a well-established story of what exactly I want to do, how I want to do it, and make sure that, and even some of the shots I would like to include in it. So I definitely have a well-established story of what I do, or what I want to do for this project. And also, I do have a unique element by having the hooded figure use electricity to terrify the young person, because that's kind of a unique thing compared to other horror movies that I've seen personally. And I know that not a lot of people are aware of the and not a lot, sorry, and not a lot of horror movies have been made where the killer or the stalker uses electricity to, like make their victims more terrified about what's about to happen. So that's why I want to give it that unique element. And then more importantly, I think it's an easy project for me to work on at home, and that way I don't have to worry about, like filming a documentary about like how my family gets day-to-day life, or even filming other stuff. So I definitely feel like this is an easy project for me to film from my house. So yeah, I definitely think that's going to be helpful. Well, thank you so much for listening to my pitch today. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Lewis. So just to start off, how are you going to end your horror film?
I kind of want to end it on a cliffhanger, really. Like you don't know like what exactly you want to do because once the electricity spots start running, I want to have like a shot of the hooded figure trying to grab him, and then obviously cut to black. So that way, it's up to the viewer's interpretation, like whether or not that he managed to escape from the hooded figure and managed to call the police, or he ended up getting killed from the hooded figure. So I kind of want to end it on a cliffhanger note, so that way it's up to the audience interpretation, which is something that's very common in horror movies.
Yeah. Do you have any props you're going to be using?
Well, for starters, obviously I've demonstrated the props that well, the main props that I'm going to be using is obviously the laptop for me when I'm working on when I'm going to be working before I obviously get, for when the young person gets stored by the hooded figure. And also I want to include another prop as well. Like obviously I want to have a mobile phone to try and call the police beforehand, so that way it looks like I'm actually trying to figure out a way to escape before I just try to run it high. So that way, because quite a lot of people in horror movies don't really like to call the police, so that's why I want to add that element in it. So I definitely want to have a mobile phone and a laptop in it, but I might have a few background props in there depending on what exactly I film this and how exactly I want the setting to look for the specific areas I want to film. But yeah, those are the two main props I really want to include in my project.
And one other question, sorry, Lewis. How long is each scene going to be? Because it's 1 minute. So how long do you think each scene you want each scene?
Well, I definitely think the sitting room scene is going to be no more than 20 seconds really, because during some research I know that 1 minute films, they have to, if you want to create a story for it, they have to at least last for 20 seconds to create the dynamic, and then when you get to the 30-minute mark you create something unique, so that way, so within the first 20 to 30 seconds that's when I'm going to be filming in the sitting room. But like for the last 20 seconds, like from the 40-second mark to the 60-second mark, that's when I'm going to be filming in the bathroom scene. So yeah, that's basically the running time order of how I'm going to do things. But the last 10 seconds, it's just going to be me running up the stairs just to show the impact and the chase. So that way it makes the film look more dynamic.
Yeah, I mean your ideas do sound really great, Lewis. I'm just gonna ask the rest of the members if they got anything they'd like to ask.
Yeah, Lewis, I think your idea is very great as well. I was just gonna ask, you see, for your cutscenes, are they gonna be really quick cutscenes from the start, or is it just gonna build its way up as it goes through?
Well, the cutscenes, uh, I think I think it is going to be a little bit fast for some of the areas because it's obviously going to be slow pace towards the beginning, but obviously there might be some shots that are back to back, like done really quick, just like that, just to show the impact and to create the thrill for the
Yeah,
audience. But I definitely want to make sure I use some long duration shots, so that way it's not just cut the shot here, shot here, shot here, shot here. I just want to go shot, shot, so that
yeah,
way it makes it more interesting rather than just the blah, 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 blah.
yeah. And I think you could use kind on action as well. Make sure you can use that because I feel like because I don't know if there's gonna be a moment where he's running. So, for example, if he was running from one angle from a shot, maybe you can get another angle from a shot where he's running. Like it looks like he's actually running the whole time as he's cutting through different shots. If you get what I'm trying to say, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I
Yeah,
definitely understand that, and I definitely plan on using that too. Really, I don't know if I explained it more, but I definitely want to, like have have the 30 to 40 second a second march to be him actually running to safety. So that way I'll have a few shots in there for like the different areas. Like one shot I'll even him leaving the room, and then I'll show another shot of him running upstairs, and then one more shot as he's just about to enter the bathroom.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and make sure as well for your continuity as well. Like you see for your costume and your prop to make sure like you always have the same sort of clothes on and make sure that everything's just in the right place. So it makes sense. So people can't really see the mistakes that you've made, if that makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I'll
other
make
than
sure.
that, I think your idea is great though. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Amari.
Oh, Sarah, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Amari and Sabaya, great questions. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lewis. I just had a couple of questions just to finish off. Nighttime or daytime? When are you going to film?
I don't mind doing either really, because if I shoot in the daytime, it's much more time for me to work on my shots really. But I can just change the the exposure on the camera so that way it looks like it's darker. But I definitely feel like if I do it
Be
in
careful though, if you're bringing down your exposure, you might get to the point where you can't see anything. So
Yeah.
you do need to, basically then you have nothing to edit with. So you'll need to maybe either, if you want it to look like night, block out use curtains to block out the light and the windows, and then just use a lamp and control it. Otherwise, to shoot in the day. But obviously, there's more atmosphere at night if you do want to do a horror. That's the natural. But horrors have been shot in the day. So I would do some test shots and see how they look, and also have a play with exposure to see again how that looks. Because what you don't want to do is shoot it all. And if it's very low exposure, then there's not much you can do about it in post-production. If it's overexposed, you can bring it down, but when it's underexposed, it's very hard to lighten without it just being washed out. So just do be careful with that.
Yeah.
If you, as Sabaya picked up on, there's 4 different locations. So I think, and I love the fact that you've thought about the tempo, and it's a good question, Amari, about the pace. So you're going to start off slow and then build up the pace for when it's getting more the chase.
Yes.
And pursuit. That's good. You mentioned about the electric element. How are you going to show this? I wasn't clear on that.
Oh, you see, what's going to happen is that obviously his laptop's going to unfortunately just cut to black without any noticing, and then he's going to look out in the garden, and then he's going to see the hooded figure, and then the hooded figure's going to try to run inside the house, but then when he's in the bathroom, like when the lights start to flicker, that's what we're going to be using the electrical elements for, and obviously his phone's not going to turn on properly. So those are the main key things I'm going to be using the electrical elements for, because like I said, electricity hasn't been really used too much in horror movies, so I want to make sure I include that so that way it gives it more a unique vibe.
You're
Sarah, I
on
think you
mute,
went on mute.
Sarah.
Sorry. Is the idea that if he shuts down electric objects around him, the bad guy can't get to him, or is he kind of figuring that out? Or when he comes near, when the villain, the aggressor, comes near him, does all the electric shut down? Which way does it work?
It's kind of
Because I had just to interject, I had visions of him kind of turning off lights, to stop. But then I think it might actually work better if, as this person gets near, the electric kind of drops out. That's hence his laptop goes out, and then obviously as he gets nearer and nearer, then that could be why the last light goes out. It's just that when he approaches, like his phone, he looks at his phone and his phone goes dead, when he goes to ring the police. So you could kind of have this idea of this person kind of drains power and then plunges him into darkness at the end. But how did you foresee it working with the electric element?
That is kind of how I wanted to go, but I really wanted to have the lights flickering, because it kind of builds up that that the hooded figure is getting closer and closer by the second, and it makes it more impactful for the hero. And then when he actually tries to get out of it, then it just cut to black. That's why I wanted to go with it, really.
Okay. Does it have to be about electricity? It could just be that is the effect, that it messes with the electrics and stuff. And you might not even need to go into that this character is connected. It's the kind of side effect, kind of almost the electricity. Is that how you're visualizing it?
It's It's kind of hard to say, really. It's just that I really.
Have a think about it, and on Wednesday we can discuss it further, and then you can
Okay.
clarify it. But I do like the idea, the connection of electricity and not. But it's like having a rule. You've got to be consistent. You've got to say, okay, when he's near, all power's out, or it interferes with power, so things can flicker and kind of go off and on. I think that's probably your easiest thing, because then you can manipulate it both ways, and that would work with your light and the laptop going off and things like that. So, I think, yeah, it's kind of, it messes with the electric, right, rather than him moving through the electric, because otherwise it turns into your character would be trying to turn everything off, and then it would end up in total darkness at the end. Do you see what I mean? You've got to have a rule one way or the other way. Okay? Because you've got to create a consistency. Right. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about is, in your bathroom, from the picture, it didn't seem like you had a shower curtain. Is that correct? Do you have no picture?
No, I don't have a shower curtain, but I do actually have a handheld shower, but I don't really want to be worrying about that, because that doesn't really have to play a part in the story, really.
It's just in classic horrors, people always jump in the bath and hide behind the shower curtain. I used to kind of visualize, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where would he hide in the bathroom? Does it? There a reason it's the bathroom?
I think the whole thing I wanted to film in the bathroom really is because I know it's just that the reason that I came up with this whole idea to begin with is that I noticed that sometimes when I turn the lights off in the bathroom, it flickers a bit, which is
Right.
why I wanted to do that element
Okay.
to begin with, really. So that's why I wanted to go with this kind of thing, and that's why I wanted to have the climax be in the bathroom. But there is
there's a lock on a bathroom, so maybe that's the motivation for him to go in and suddenly kind of lock the door, and then you could have the flicker. But there's got to be a reason for going to the bathroom, and also I just want you to think about how you'd use your bathroom space. Okay.
Yeah.
But for now, that's all my questions. Anything else from you guys? Are you done?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lewis. Well done.
Not a problem. And I'll stop recording my pitch. And thank you all for listening to my pitch. And thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Liz.